Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a set of sources here that really cuts right to the heart of some modern leadership challenges. Specifically, this trap leaders fall into where they feel like they're carrying the entire organization on their back. If you've ever thought, it's just easier if I do it myself, or maybe if I take a day off, this whole place will grind to a halt, then, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're focusing on diagnosis and, crucially, systemic change.
That's right. Our mission today is pretty focused. We want to unpack this transition, which can be, frankly, quite tough for leaders. It's about moving from being that exhausted hero leader, we're calling them the firefighter, always scrambling, putting out fires with sheer personal effort.
Constantly reacting.
Exactly. Moving from that to becoming the effective elite leader who we're calling the architect. The architect is different. They design and build systems, robust systems, so fires don't even start. Or, if they do, the team can handle it themselves without escalating.
Right. They've built the fire department, not just grab the hose themselves.
Precisely. And this material is so valuable because it gives a really clear diagnosis of why the hero leader approach fails systemically. And then it lays out a 4-step manual for real, deep organizational change. The promise here isn't just better results, it's genuine autonomy. Growth for everyone.
That distinction feels key. Firefighter versus architect. It really unlocks what these sources are getting at. It's the difference between just working harder, putting in more hours, versus working smarter by focusing on the operational systems you've actually installed. So if you feel like you're the only one really pushing things forward, or if everything stops when you leave the room, stick with us. We're going to explore why your current operating system, especially how you deal with problems, with conflict, is probably obsolete, no matter how hard you or your team works.
Yeah, it's a journey from relying on individual heroism, which is finite, to relying on smart design, which can scale.
Okay, let's dig into that core metaphor the sources use. The leader-hero, the hero-leader. The description is vivid, isn't it? Feeling like the only firefighter in a city in flames.
It really paints a picture. You see chaos, you grab the nearest hose, you run right in. It's exhausting, definitely. But there's also this almost addictive quality to it, right? Every fire put out reinforces that feeling of, they need me, I'm indispensable.
And that feeling, that need to be indispensable, that's the core of the hero leader's burden, isn't it?
It's exactly the burden. And it's the ultimate cost. While they're busy being that single point of failure, solving every little problem, carrying all that weight, it's actually a double disaster.
How so?
Well, first, it leads to just profound personal exhaustion for the leader. Burnout is almost inevitable. But second, and this is critical for the business, it leads to organizational stagnation. The company just hits a wall.
A wall defined by the leader's own limits.
Precisely. The company's growth ceiling isn't the market or the product or even the team's talent. It becomes the leader's personal bandwidth, their physical, mental, emotional capacity. That's the bottleneck.
It's a total self-limiting trap. If you're the bottleneck, the whole system can only move as fast as you can fight those fires.
And fires tend to scale much faster than any one person's ability to fight them.
But here's the kicker from the sources, the really sharp correction. The hero leader usually doesn't see it this way. They make a critical misdiagnosis.
Yeah, they see the symptoms miss deadlines, maybe a lack of initiative from the team, work quality dipping.
Things that drive them crazy.
Exactly. And they immediately assume the problem is the team. They start thinking they're lazy, or they're just not motivated, or, they don't care about quality like I do.
Blaming the crew.
Right. But the sources are really clear. This is almost always wrong. The problem isn't the team's character. The problem is the obsolete operating system that the leader themselves, often with totally good intentions, has installed over time.
So it's the leader's ingrained response to problems that's actually holding things back.
That's it. Their reactive way of handling things becomes the single biggest constraint on the company's potential. Think about it. If the only person who ever gets recognized or rewarded for solving a tough problem is the leader,
then the team learns pretty quickly to just step back.
Yeah, they learn, don't touch it, wait for the hero.
Yeah.
You've effectively trained your workforce to be passive bystanders.
Okay, so to make this concrete, the sources give this really great common scenario. It shows exactly where the hero leader goes wrong.
Ah, yes, the extended pause example. It's perfect because it's so relatable.
Right. Let's say you have a work crew, they take a scheduled break, maybe for coffee. It's supposed to be 10 minutes, but it stretches to 15, maybe 20.
Happens all the time. A low-level conflict, a minor deviation.
Exactly. And the hero leader, according to the sources, has two default responses. Both are toxic.
Yeah, these are the toxic responses to conflict. And the first one is super common, especially for leaders who hate confrontation. The sources call it el silencio pasivo, passive silence.
Okay, break that down. What does the leader do?
So the leader sees the team still chatting, knows they're late getting back. Inside, they're fuming.
The internal monologue is going wild.
Totally. How disrespectful. Don't they get, we have a deadline. I said 10 minutes, all that internal frustration.
But externally,
Nothing. They say absolutely nothing. They walk over, maybe sigh really loudly, make sure their annoyance is visible, clenched jaw, tight shoulders.
that's classic passive-aggressive display.
Exactly. And then they just start doing the tasks themselves, picking up the tools, getting back to work, pointedly ignoring the team, or just working around them.
Oof. What's the consequence of that silence? It seems like it avoids a blow-up, maybe.
Well, it avoids an immediate blow-up, yes. And the task might get moving again temporarily. So it feels like a solution. But the price paid is huge. It sends this incredibly clear, nonverbal message of deep distrust and emotional volatility.
Because they haven't actually said what the problem is.
Precisely. The leader bottled up all that furia, that anger. The crew feels the tension. They know the boss is mad. But because there was no conversation, no direct feedback, they don't know specifically what they did wrong. Was it the extra 5 minutes? Did someone break a tool? Was the original schedule unrealistic?
They're just left guessing, feeling judged.
Exactly. They only know they were watched and found wanting, silently. And that breeds resentment, defensiveness, and it absolutely kills initiative.
Yeah, why stick your neck out if you might get silently punished?
Right. You've just taught your team that it's safer to keep quiet and do the minimum than to engage or risk making a mistake. It's like a slow poison for performance.
Okay, so passive aggression is destructive. But the sources say the alternative hero leader response isn't any better. That's response 2. The confrontation directa. The direct confrontation.
Yeah, this is the flip side. This is the hero leader who doesn't suppress the furia, they unleash it.
So, same scenario, team is late back from break. What happens now?
This leader rushes over, maybe points, volume goes up.
Yeah.
Hey, we agreed on 10 minutes. It's been 15, almost 20. What is going on here? Why can't you people stick to a simple schedule? Are you deliberately wasting company time?
Whoa, immediate, aggressive, blame-focused.
Totally. It's purely an emotional reaction, anger driving the bus.
And the impact of this. If passive silence poisons slowly, this sounds like it detonates trust instantly.
It absolutely does. This creates an immediate atmosphere of fear. And fear in an organization, well, it's the death knell for something crucial. Psychological safety.
That term comes up a lot, psychological safety. Why is its destruction such a big deal operationally?
It's not a soft HR issue, it's a hard operational failure. When people are afraid of the leader's reaction, afraid of being yelled at for a small mistake or a delay, they stop doing two things that are absolutely vital for any healthy, growing system.
Okay, what are they?
First, they stop taking calculated risks. Innovation requires trying things that might not work. If failure means getting yelled at, nobody tries anything new. Second, and maybe even more critically, they stop reporting errors.
Ah, they hide problems.
Exactly. If a machine jams or they notice a flaw in the process, they'll try to patch it up quietly, cover it up, rather than flag it for a proper fix.
Yeah.
Because flagging it might lead to blame.
So small problems don't get fixed and potentially become huge problems later.
Precisely. The team reverts to just minimal compliance. Keep your head down, do only what you're told, prioritize personal survival over actual performance or improvement.
What's striking here is that these two reactions, the silence and the explosion, they seem like polar opposites.
They seem like it, yeah. One avoids conflict, the other dives in aggressively.
But the sources frame them as basically the same underlying failure. What's the common thread?
The common thread is the leader's complete failure to use the delay constructively as a tool for learning and improvement. Both responses are fundamentally a core competency failure. The source material talks about 4 key competencies for elite leadership, and this failure hits right at the third one, dominar el conflicto constructivo, mastering constructive conflict.
So the hero leader's flaw isn't just being overwhelmed, it's how they handle the inevitable friction of work.
That's the heart of it. They see conflict only as a threat, something negative to be squashed or avoided.
So they either avoid it altogether with that passive silence,
Or they manage it in a toxic, destructive way, like the direct confrontation.
and they miss the opportunity.
Completely. They fail to grasp that conflict, when managed well, isn't a threat to the team. It's actually the single greatest engine for growth, for improving the system.
If you avoid it or poison it, the system just stays stuck.
Exactly. The organizational operating system remains obsolete, stuck in that loop of reaction, blame, and eventual burnout. The solution isn't no conflict. It's institutionalizing constructive conflict management.
Okay, so if we're listening and thinking, uh-oh, I definitely recognize myself in that hero leader trap, oscillating between quiet frustration and maybe the occasional outburst, the good news is the sources give us a roadmap out, a step-by-step manual for becoming that elite leader, the architect. And step one sounds almost deceptively simple, but I bet it's the hardest part.
It's absolutely foundational. The path away from being the hero leader starts not with fixing the team, but with fixing the leader's own internal wiring. This is step one, transforming your own leadership. It's about making that profound internal shift from furio, anger, frustration, judgment, to curiositad, curiosity.
Anger to curiosity. Okay, easy to say. But how does a leader who's maybe spent years automatically jumping to blame, they're just lazy or they don't respect the schedule, how do they actually interrupt that reaction?
That's the real work, isn't it? The hard internal work. The elite leader has to consciously build like an internal firewall against that knee-jerk judgment. So
Yeah.
when they see the extended pause, the hero leader instantly thinks, the problem is them, judgment. The architect forces a cognitive reframe. They choose curiosity. The internal talk shifts.
From what to what?
It shifts from that judgmental question, ¿por qué no están trabajando? Why aren't they working?
Yeah.
To a genuinely systematic and humble inquiry.
They adopt the systemic question, is that what you mean?
Exactly. Instead of laser focusing on the people, they focus entirely on the process. They literally ask themselves, okay, hold on, what is this situation telling me about my system or my process?
That's a huge shift, assuming the problem might be your design, not their failing.
It is huge. And that humility, that willingness to assume the flaw might be systemic, is the most powerful diagnostic tool a leader has. A delay isn't a moral failure to be punished. It's expensive data pointing to a crack in the system.
So maybe the instructions weren't clear, or a tool broke, or the schedule was impossible.
Could be any of those things.
Yeah.
The architect sees the delay and thinks, okay, this system failed somewhere. It didn't protect my team's time or productivity. I need to understand why. The curiosity is genuine.
Okay, so step one is that internal shift. Replace judgment with curiosity. Assume system failure first. Once the leader manages that, they're ready for step two, which is taking that curiosity out to the team through dialogue.
Yes. Step two is forging high-performance teams using a very specific kind of conversation. It's the operational application of that newfound curiosity.
And the sources emphasize that the leader approaches the team with both empathy and firmness. How does that work?
It works because the empathy comes from genuinely wanting to understand the systemic obstacle. I want to know what prevented this. The firmness comes from reinforcing the non-negotiable goal. We still need to get this done efficiently. So they initiate a conversation, but the goal isn't blame. It's explicitly stated, let's solve this problem in the system together.
Okay, let's look at the specific question the elite leader asks the delayed team. The sources highlight it, and it seems really well crafted.
It really is. It goes something like this. Guys, the objective is to finish the cleaning before 4 p.m. I need to understand why we are getting delayed. What is preventing the work from progressing as planned?
Let's break that down. It starts by restating the goal.
Yes. First, ground everyone in the shared objective finish by 4 p.m. Establishes common ground, reminds everyone what success looks like.
Then the crucial part, what is preventing the work?
Exactly. Notice the neutral, almost passive language. Preventing. It frames the obstacle as some external force to the system. A tool, maybe the heat. An unclear instruction, not an internal character flaw in the team members.
It invites them to be diagnosticians, not defendants.
Perfectly put. It forces them to think like operational experts identifying a blockage in the flow.
And this leads to what the sources call the most powerful kind of delegation. Delegating authority, not tasks.
Yes. This is such a key insight.
Yeah.
The hero leader delegates tasks. Go clean that area. Simple instruction. The architect, using this question, delegates the authority to propose solutions. Tell me what we need to change in the system so this prevention doesn't happen again.
You're asking them to help redesign the work.
Exactly. By asking what's preventing progress. You create this space for, frankly, brutal honesty, but useful honesty. The team, the people actually doing the work, they might reveal root causes the leader would never see from their office.
Like what kind of things might come out?
Oh, all sorts. They might say, well, we lost 20 minutes because the safety scaffolding, the manual's wrong. It says it takes 2 people, but it actually needs 3 now because of that modification last month.
Ah, a system flaw the leader didn't know about.
Or, boss, it hit 110 degrees out there. Safety protocol requires a 15-minute cooling break every hour over 105. That wasn't factored into the 4 p.m. deadline you gave us.
Again, a system issue planning didn't account for reality.
Right. The leader doesn't need to have the answer. They need to create the space for the team to surface the truth.
Okay, I can see the power in that. But I also feel a little flicker of that hero leader anxiety. If I ask them what's wrong and empower them to suggest solutions, what if they suggest something crazy expensive? Or something that lowers quality? Am I losing control?
That's the core tension, isn't it? Moving from control to architecture. It's a valid concern. But the key distinction is you're delegating the authority to propose solutions, not necessarily the unilateral authority to implement whatever they want without oversight.
Okay, so the leader still has a role in vetting the ideas.
Absolutely. The elite leader becomes more like an editor or maybe a venture capitalist for ideas. They listen to the proposals, filter them for feasibility, cost-effectiveness, scalability, alignment with broader goals. But the crucial first step, the diagnosis and the initial solution idea, comes from the team, the people closest to the problem.
So you're not abdicating responsibility, you're leveraging their ground-level intelligence.
You've weaponized their collective intelligence against the system's flaws. And in doing so, you transform them. They're no longer passive victims of a bad system. They become active co-creators of a better one. That's incredibly motivating.
Okay, so through that structured dialogue in step 2, the elite leader has surfaced the real issue, the root cause, the system flaw. They've collected the data. Now we hit step 3, mastering constructive conflict. This is where that initial problem, the delay, gets actively used as fuel for improvement, not punishment.
Exactly. The elite leader doesn't just say, okay, thanks for the feedback, and walk away. They immediately leverage the situation, the delay, the broken tool, the confusing manual, as a catalyst for a structured lessons learned session.
This is how they turn a one-off problem into organizational learning.
Precisely. It elevates the incident from just a performance issue needing a quick fix to a sustainable learning opportunity that helps prevent it from ever happening again. And the tool for this, the operational mechanism, is what the sources call the triple question framework. This is how conflict becomes an improvement motor.
Okay, let's detail this framework. The sources stress the structure and the order are important for keeping it safe and productive.
Absolutely critical. The leader gathers the team, maybe right after the shift or the next morning, and asks 3 specific questions, always in this sequence. First, what worked well today or this week?
Start with the positive. Why is that non-negotiable?
Because it forces positive reflection first. It acknowledges successes, even small ones. Psychologically, it rebuilds safety immediately, especially if there was tension around the initial problem. It reminds everyone the goal isn't blame, it's excellence.
Okay, good foundation. What's question 2?
Second, what didn't work so well? What obstacles did we hit? This is the diagnostic part. It's where the systemic flaws get named explicitly. The scaffolding manual was wrong. The water pressure wasn't adequate. The shift rotation didn't account for the heat.
And crucially, focused on process or system, not blaming individuals.
Yes, the framing is key.
Yeah.
What didn't work, not who messed up.
Makes sense. And the third question.
Third, based on what didn't work, what can we do differently next time to be more efficient and prevent this issue? This is the solution generation phase. It explicitly hands the authority for improvement back to the team.
What can we do? I like that. It reinforces shared ownership.
Exactly. This whole sequence, starting positive, diagnosing the system, then empowering the team to propose the fix. It completely transforms the dynamic.
How so? It changes the team's role?
Fundamentally, that initial delay or complaint is no longer something to hide or feel defensive about. It's become a structured input for innovation. The team stops feeling like they're being watched or monitored just for compliance. They're now actively collaborating on improving a system they themselves are part of. They become genuine co-creators.
And when people help build the system,
They own it. They feel responsible for its success. And critically, they'll enforce the new standards or procedures among themselves much more effectively than any manager trying to police them from above. Peer pressure becomes a positive force for maintaining the better system.
okay, that's powerful. So step 3 uses the conflict to generate solutions and ownership. And once that improved process is identified, say, updating the scaffolding manual, implementing a pre-shift tool check. The architect doesn't stop there. They move to the final step.
Yes, step 4. Installing a continuous improvement system. This is the crucial difference. The hero leader's job is done when the fire is out. The elite leader's job starts then, because the goal is to prevent it from ever happening again.
This is about making the fix permanent, embedding it.
It's about replacing that reliance on unpredictable, draining, heroic effort from the leader with a robust, predictable, and scalable process. The ultimate fix is institutionalization, making the improvement the new standard operating procedure.
Let's make systems less abstract. When people hear that word, they might think complex software or massive bureaucratic processes. The sources suggest these systems should be simpler.
Much simpler, usually, because complexity is the enemy of adoption. If it's too hard, people won't do it. So take our example. The team delay because of unclear expectations or faulty tools discovered in step 3. The system needed might be incredibly simple.
Like what?
Like a mandatory 5-minute start-of-day protocol. A checklist that gets reviewed by the supervisor and the team lead together every single day, no exceptions.
A ritual, basically. What might be on that checklist?
It would directly address the failure points identified. So maybe. Item 1, plan review and acceptance. Did we discuss today's goal? Any questions? Supervisor and team lead sign-off. Item 2, key tools operational check. Visual confirmation. Is the water pump working? Is the scaffolding safe? Check. Item 3, safety check. Is it over 105 degrees today? Okay, remind everyone of the mandatory cooling break schedule. Check. Item 4, pause protocol agreement. Okay, breaks are 10-minute sharp, starting at 10:00 a.m. and 2:00 p.m. Agreed. Check.
Wow. Okay, that's simple, but it forces the conversation before the problem happens.
Exactly. It transforms the focus. You stop measuring failure after it happens, a lighting indicator, like the delay. You start measuring adherence to the system designed to prevent the failure, a leading indicator.
That shift from lagging to leading indicators feels really important for scalability.
It's everything for scalability. These small, predictable routines, these simple checklists and protocols, they act like guardrails for the whole operation. They ensure that even if the main supervisor is out sick or a new person joins the team, the process runs smoothly because the system is designed to catch issues early and ensure clarity.
That's the core insight, isn't it? Sustainable high performance doesn't come from one person's heroic efforts.
No, it comes from the strength, the predictability, and the built-in continuous improvement cycle of the system itself. If the system is robust, the leader can finally step back.
And focus on higher level things.
Yes, focus on designing the next system, planning the next level of growth, instead of constantly putting out fires at the current level. That's the freedom the architect gains.
So this whole journey, moving from relying on your own control to relying on these institutionalized systems, it really defines your legacy as a leader, doesn't it? It determines if your company is fragile, totally dependent on you, or if it's something that can actually sustain itself and grow beyond you.
Absolutely. And the source material gives us this fantastic, stark contrast using 2 real-world business examples to drive the point home.
Right. Let's start with the cautionary tale.
On the tragic side, the sources point to Calzado, Canada. This is a huge Mexican shoe manufacturer, dominated the market for decades. But it's presented as the ultimate example of a hero leader, the founder, tragically clinging too tightly to control.
I remember reading about this. The founder, Don Salvador, was legendary for being involved in everything.
Totally indispensable by design. The entire organization revolved around his personality, his decisions, his direct oversight. He was the only one approving major contracts, the only one settling big labor disputes, the only one signing off on new shoe designs. It was basically steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 all rolled into one person.
He never delegated real authority, only tasks.
Exactly. And because he wouldn't delegate authority, wouldn't build robust systems that could function without him, the company, despite its success, was fundamentally unscalable. Its capacity was his capacity.
So, his insistence on being the central controller prevented any real systems from taking root. When he was there, things worked, maybe. When he wasn't,
stalled. And then the inevitable happened. When he eventually passed away, the company just couldn't cope.
Why not?
Because there were no systems. There was just one central node of control that was suddenly gone. There was no culture of empowered problem-solving down the line, no built-in mechanisms for constructive conflict or systemic improvement, no decentralized decision-making.
So the whole thing just crumbled.
Pretty much. The massive business collapsed, not really because the market changed overnight or the product was bad, but because the organizational structure itself was unsustainable. It was a personal monarchy, not an autonomous system.
Wow. The hero leader, by being the solution to everything, ultimately guaranteed the organization couldn't survive without him. That's a chilling lesson.
It's a very stark warning.
Okay, so let's contrast that tragedy with the flip side, the paradigm example the sources use, Toyota.
Ugh. Toyota, held up as the gold standard, and for good reason in this context. Their success is attributed precisely because their leaders obsessed over building systems. The famous Toyota production system, it wasn't about top-down control. It was about designing processes that fundamentally empowered the teams on the floor to be architects themselves.
Their system is designed to surface problems, right, not hide them.
Exactly. And their most famous mechanism, the Andon cord, perfectly illustrates steps 3 and 4 of the elite leader's manual mastering constructive conflict and installing systems.
Explain the Andon cord again. How does it work?
It's brilliant in its simplicity. It's literally a rope or button that runs along the assembly line. Any worker, even the newest person, if they spot a defect, a problem, a flaw in the process, they can pull that cord.
And it stops the entire production line. That sounds like high stakes.
Extremely high stakes. Stopping the line costs money every second. But what happens next is key. Pulling the cord immediately triggers step 2 and 3. Systemic dialogue and constructive conflict.
The manager comes over, but not to yell.
No. The manager arrives not to assign blame, why did you cost us money, but to initiate that systemic diagnostic question. What specific defect or system failure did you observe?
So the problem, the defect, is treated like valuable data.
Precious data. It's seen as an opportunity. Then, the team right there on the line collaboratively uses something like the triple question framework, often using the 5 whys technique, to drill down to the root cause of that system failure.
And the worker who pulled the cord.
They aren't punished. They're rewarded. They're thanked for having the courage and the attention to detail to initiate the improvement process.
So pulling the cord instantly elevates the lowest level employee. They go from just being a cog to being a quality inspector and a process architect.
Precisely. They own the problem, they help find the solution, and that solution gets fed back into improving the Step 4 system so it doesn't happen again.
It's the complete opposite of the hero leader, who'd probably brush in, fix the one defect themselves while telling everyone to keep the line moving.
Ensuring the same problem happens again 10 minutes later. Toyota shifts the entire focus from just pushing units out the door, output quantity, to ensuring quality through robust system design.
That contrast really lands the point. Systemic thinking versus control-based leadership.
And this brings us to the final challenge, the urgency the source material injects with the ultimate $100 bet.
Right, this isn't just theory. They make it a direct personal challenge to the listener.
Yeah, it's basically a high-pressure ultimatum for your leadership style, starting right now, with real consequences predicted 1 year out.
Okay, lay out the bet. What happens if you stick with the hero leader path?
The hero leader outcome, the loss. If you choose to continue down that road, fighting fires, avoiding conflict, or handling it toxically, hoarding authority, the prediction is grim. In 1 year, the sources bet $100 that you will be measurably more exhausted. Your team will be measurably more demotivated because they haven't been empowered, and your company will have hit a lower growth ceiling because it's still tied to your personal diminishing bandwidth.
So you lose the bet, and you're basically paying for the privilege of being stressed and stuck.
That's the stark warning.
And the other side, what if you take the bet and commit to the architect path?
The elite leader outcome, the
Yeah.
win. If you commit today, you make that internal shift to curiosity, you diligently apply the 4 competencies, have the tough constructive conversations, build those simple systems, the promise is radical. In 1 year, the bet is you'll have a demonstrably more autonomous team. Your company will be growing more predictably without needing your constant heroic interventions. And you will have regained the personal freedom you've probably been craving to focus on strategy, on the bigger picture.
You win the $100, but more importantly, you win back your time and scale your impact.
It's presented as the fundamental choice. Do you want to remain a laborer trapped inside your company, constantly working for it? Or do you want to become the owner of a self-sustaining asset that works for you? That's the existential choice for leaders today. #outro.
So we've walked through this architect's manual. Step 1, transforming yourself, that shift from fury to curiosity. Step 2, delegating real authority through that empathetic but firm dialogue.
Step 3, using conflict constructively, turning problems into an improvement engine with those 3 questions. And Step 4, embedding those improvements into simple, robust systems.
Yeah, and the core takeaway, driven home by comparing, the collapse of Calzado Canada with the systemic success of Toyota, it seems clear. Elite leadership isn't about being the best firefighter.
No, it's about making firefighting unnecessary through intelligent design,
Mhm.
eliminating the crises before they happen.
And connecting back to delegation, the sources really hammer this point. The most valuable thing you can possibly delegate.
It isn't a task. Delegating tasks just shifts labor around.
Right.
The most valuable delegation is giving your team the authority to diagnose problems, to propose solutions, and to actually improve the system they work within. That is the leverage point. That's what buys back your time and unlocks growth.
Which really brings us to the final question, the challenge this whole deep dive poses to you, the listener, right now. The sources frame it perfectly. Are you willing to finally stop being the firefighter? Are you ready to step back from the flames so you can become the architect of your own legacy and your company's future?
Because every single day you're making that choice, consciously or not. Are you spending your energy fighting today's fire? Or are you investing a little energy in building the system that prevents tomorrow's fire?
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Look at your own work, maybe just your calendar for this coming week.
What's one recurring problem, one fire you keep having to put out that indicates an obsolete system you're tolerating? What system are you installing today by your actions or inactions that you really need to tear down?
And maybe more practically, what's just one activity that currently relies entirely on your personal heroic effort that you could start to institutionalize? Maybe with just a simple checklist starting tomorrow. What small step can you take to begin building?